Hey everybody, it's Coach David here with a more luxurious beard and haven't gotten a haircut yet. But I wanted to talk to you about the exciting reopening that we're going to be, obviously going through here very shortly in the coming days. So I kind of created a presentation for you so you can kind of follow along and be able to read. As always, if the video is too long for you, that's totally fine. Just utilize the playback speed manipulator on your playback device here and push me to 1.5 or 2x or whatever you want. So, but I did want to go through everything so that ideally, one, you can feel rest assured that obviously your safety is going to continue to come first, as it always has, and that we will literally do everything in our power to help make sure that we're not contributing to the problem, but rather contributing to the solution here. And I'll talk further about it, but one of the biggest things about the solution to this pandemic, there's a lot of different things to reflect upon, of course, as we hopefully have taken the time to do so over these past nearly 12 weeks. But truly, the only recurring evidence that shows that we can kind of, refine ourselves and basically don the armor against this, the virus is just simply being more fit. It's one that attacks immune systems that are compromised. The stronger your immune system, well, the more able you are to fight against it. Obviously, if there aren't other associated unknown issues. But and one unique thing about the programming that we've basically always done and will continue to do is that it actually helps bolster the immune system when executed correctly, especially with proper recovery and everything, because the more that you can challenge your body physically, it improves your digestive function, your immune system functioning, your cardiovascular health, your capability of transporting, intaking, and utilizing oxygen, as well as obviously maneuvering blood throughout the body through to the muscle sites and beyond, so and organ tissues. So one thing that's been communicated quite a bit is that basically the fitter you are, the better you're able to handle this. So that's always been really what the goal of CrossFit Strongsville has been, and what from day one is I want to make you better and more capable, and something like this truly has brought that to light. And I just realized I'm in my office here, and you can see I'm a total nerd. Those are all board games, miniature games, things like that in the background. I probably should have put this in my little home gym area. Anyway, whatever. So I'm going to share my screen here and go on with the presentation. Okay, so hopefully you can see this just fine. CrossFit Strongsville, the reopening. Let's go on. So first, the good stuff, all right? I like to share good news always as much as possible. This one here, June 6th, 2020, marks our official 7th anniversary of becoming affiliated as CrossFit Strongsville. As you know, as I've communicated in other email messages before, June 6th is my favorite day in history, 1944. It's the onset of D-Day, and it just always has struck me how, I don't know, significant, and it just can't be a coincidence that my favorite day in history is also the anniversary of our affiliation. So anyway, I'm excited that we are open in time for us to be able to celebrate that in some way, shape, or form. It's going to be a little different, but it's still us. So over the years, we've endeavored to find comfort in the uncomfortable, forge lasting relationships with others and even our true selves, overcome adversity and obstacles, challenge our bodies, minds, spirits, willpower, and hearts, and have a good time while doing it. And even if you're having to do hundreds of burpees, there's always a way to still laugh, right? And especially that's really what camaraderie is that commiseration, laughing while you're going through hell. So this time of shutdown, I will share with you, has only further enforced that commitment and even emphasized its importance, as I mentioned, because through all those things that we provide, in our space and as we've done remotely with our encouragement and programming and everything else, that's how we, it's an important thing how we can continue to fight against what's going on. So so I'm calling a very select group of you the Vanguard, because as of compiling the presentation, 39 of you remain steadfast and maintain your membership. So that means you kept an active recurring payment, or you didn't, delay your prepaid memberships or anything like that. So I am so deeply grateful to those of you who chose to do this. And, I know it's been a sacrifice, obviously financially, but it's meant the world, and it's actually ensured that we're able to reopen. If not for you, I don't know if this day would have come. So you will be rewarded for your commitment. I'll be sharing more about that later. Just again, this select group. But I will let you know, I do not begrudge those who chose to pause or cancel their memberships. I do entirely understand, life as we knew it was turned upside down. And, some of you couldn't make the choice. It was because you lost your job or were furloughed or whatever the case is. And so I get it. But I do know that we will grow again in time. And as always, I and the staff will continue to stand by our dedication to serving you to the best of our ability. So thank you again, seriously. I wanted to share this quote. I found it the other day and I freaking love it. Again, being a history buff, and in fact, most of the board games behind me are actually World War II board games. In fact, that entire shelf right there, that's all World War II, and about half of the other below it. So I'm such a nerd. But so this quote, perspective, was shared on a website I think was called like India Writing Times or something like that. And circulated a bit from, I believe I'm pronouncing it right, Kaushik Roy. But I'll just share it. I'll read it with you. So, for a small amount of perspective at this moment, imagine you were born in 1900. When you are 14, World War I starts and ends on your 18th birthday, with 22 million people killed. Later in the year, a Spanish flu epidemic hits the planet and runs until you are 20. For those of you who don't know, the Spanish flu was the exact opposite, essentially, of COVID-19. It attacked healthy immune systems and made it fight and kill you. So we saw so many of our youth, especially our younger populations, killed by this. And so that was the point where being fitter or healthier didn't actually help you with this situation. But anyway, I'm sorry. So runs until you're 20. 50 million people die from it in those 2 years. Yes, 50 million. All right. So that's over twice as many as World War I. When you're 29, the Great Depression begins. Unemployment hits 25%, global GDP drops 27%, and that runs until you are 33. The country nearly collapses along with the world economy. When you turn 39, World War II starts, and you aren't even over the hill yet. When you're 41, the United States is fully pulled into World War II. Between your 39th and 45th birthday, 75 million people perish in the war, and the Holocaust kills 6 million. So again, in perspective, the first two basically historical events killed a total of about 72 million. So we've now just doubled that by 1945 at 75 million. So over 150 million people have now perished within half of a lifetime. So Again, the Holocaust kills 6 million. At 52, the Korean War starts and 5 million perish. At 64, the Vietnam War begins and it doesn't end for many years. 4 million people die in that conflict. Approaching your 62nd birthday, you have the Cuban Missile Crisis, a tipping point in the Cold War. Life on our planet as we know it could well have ended. Great leaders prevented that from happening. As you turn 75, the Vietnam War finally ends. Think of everyone on the planet born in 1900. How do you survive all of that? A kid in 1985 didn't think that their 85-year-old grandparents understood how hard school was. Yet those grandparents, and now great-grandparents, survived through everything listed above. Perspective is an amazing art. Let's try and keep things in perspective. Let's be smart, help each other out, and we will get through all of this. In the history of the world, there has never been a storm that has lasted. This too shall pass. Human spirit is an amazing thing. Keep it pumped up with adequate positivity and share positive energies. So I thought that was super cool and definitely helps put a lot of things into perspective. I would argue, you know, what we're going through now, it is difficult, it's challenging, and many of you have been pulled in so many directions, myself included, but it will pass. So let's talk about the changes. And this is still good stuff. It's just different. All right. I just kind of want to make that clear. And I also want to make clear, many of these things are temporary. All right. I don't know for how long that we'll have to do this. It might be for a very long time. But at least for now, this is something that we have to institute. So first, the schedule. Fewer classes will be offered as we first navigate this unfamiliar landscape. This is temporary, as I just mentioned, and I will add more options when it is safe and effective to do so. One of the things here is you know, with fewer members, there's no way we can sustain, even from a financial perspective, you know, paying coaches and everything, the schedule we had before. So I should also make note, we're only going to be hosting CrossFit classes. So for my FitCore peeps, don't worry. You can still schedule your typical time at that 10:30 slot, but we just need to be more inclusive because of the limitations on our schedule at this time. And obviously things will still be modified for you. That doesn't change. It's just basically the name of the class changes. And I want to ensure everybody has an opportunity to come in and work out should they choose to do so. So you can see on the right here, this is the schedule that we're going to be going forward with beginning on Wednesday. So Monday, 5:30, 6:30 a.m., same with 9:30 and 10:30 a.m., and then 5:30 and 6:30 p.m. Okay, so 4:30 and 7:30 have been removed. Tuesday, we are completely closed, and programming will reflect that. Wednesday, we basically have the same as Monday, but we are adding 7:30 in for that one. Okay, so for those who need that later option, it will be there. Thursday, we're just going to have the evening class, 5:30 and 6:30 p.m. Friday, we just have morning classes, essentially 5:30, 6:30, 9:30, and 10:30 a.m. And I should note here, Thursday and Friday programming, the WODs will actually be exactly the same. All right. So if you attend Thursday night, do not attend Friday. Leave the spot open for somebody else. You know, and then Saturday, we're going to have 9 and 10 a.m. available as well. Sunday, as we've been for a long time here, we are closed. So I notice here too, there's no mention of open gyms because they will not be available. The reason I chose to do this, and trust me, many gyms are, is this helps to ensure we have complete control over the safety and cleanliness of the facility. We actually have to maintain basically a roster of individuals who enter into the facility as part of our requirements that were put out by the state. And just with the lack of oversight on open gym, there's just no way to ensure that's going to be done. And I really don't want to get in trouble. So, and I know this is a bummer. Some people do rely on that. It's just the way things are, again, temporarily as such. But I will say this, so only coaches, their significant others, and other individuals I approve can work out at times outside of class offerings. All right, so this is 100% at my discretion. And I don't want to hear complaints if you're not one of those people who are approved. For the most part, this will just be coaches. And even like the Iron Halo powerlifting group, they will be permitted to do so. They kind of have their own scheduled times. It's absolutely temporary and necessary, but I will not handle people complaining about, oh, well, this person got to work out and I didn't, and everything else. By me making it the way it is, and only permitting coaches and their significant others or other individuals who I do approve because of extenuating circumstances, that's, again, just going to be the best direction and the fairest direction. So you can be mad at me. You can't be mad at anybody else. All right. So I'll take that on as your leader. Programming. Programming is actually going to take a few steps back on intensity and complexity. And I guess I mean that from where we were in the direction prior to our shutdown. And one of the main things here is remember, exercise physiology is one of my degrees. I want to ensure your safety and reduce the risk of injury. That's always been what we've been about. I know you're going to want super hard, challenging workouts right out the gate because you feel, insert your adjective here, like you're sloppy after all this time at home and all this kind of stuff. But it has to be smart. I can only imagine the programs out there who are going to maintain what they were doing, whatever the case is, how many of them are going to see shoulder injuries, or torn muscles and ligaments, and knee pain because of overdoing it on squats and weights and all sorts of other things, back pain, etc. So I'm going to be ramping you back up slowly, and I'm going to actually be pulling a lot of programming from when we first opened. Nearly 7 years ago. So you're going to see that kind of shift. This is done with the admission here that many of you have been good about maintaining, movement and some level of intensity, but that's still only been for maintenance more than performance, right? So not every day we'll have strength assignments, just period. I know you were going to want to lift heavy again, especially for many of you who didn't have access to any barbells or extra weights like that. But again, we have to be smart. Listen to your coaches, absolutely, so that they can kind of help you out. Like, don't expect yourself to be able to do anything remotely close to your 1 rep max, for some time. At this point, it's just the nature of the beast. And then the intensity as it comes to how you're approaching workouts, your lungs are going to need to kind of catch back up to where you were before. So just listen to your body, be smart, and again, go to the coaches for guidance. So self-regulation is one of the strongest things that we endeavor to help teach you throughout the workouts. And so the more you can self-regulate as you go throughout the workout, not go out too hard, too fast. This is a great opportunity to kind of build that up again. So not feel like you're just, trying to catch up, I guess. So we will always with the WODs have, Metcons or metabolic conditioners, as those are actually the primary way that we increase fitness and therefore improve health and resilience to illness. That's actually what Metcons serve to do. Metabolic conditioner. Metabolism isn't just how well you break down things. Like, I have a high metabolism, so I burn fat or food more efficiently or faster, et cetera. Metabolism is all the processes of the body. So that includes rebuilding and, how we manage blood flow and oxygen flow and all those other things too. So as I mentioned before, Thursday WODs will be the same as Friday WODs. So again, if you attend Thursday evening, do not reserve a class on Friday as well. It's the same workout. And if you did it already the day before, there is no sense in doing it the next day, period. Okay. And the programming, as always, will shift and pursue new heights as we go. So that's my way of saying, again, we're going to gradually step it back up, in time. The class structure. So now classes will only last 45 minutes total. Okay. And that is an absolute. Okay. So the first 5 to 10 minutes will be for warming up and stretching. The next 10 minutes will be for strength, if there is some, and coaching. And then the following 20 to 25 minutes will be for the WOD or the Metcon, basically. So that's to say, at the 45 mark, no matter what, no exceptions whatsoever, all WODs must be completed. So I don't care if you only have 2 reps left, or if we're, you know, because of certain factors, the WOD couldn't get started in time. So you have a 15-minute AMRAP now instead of a 20. I don't care what the case is, you're done at 45. So if we started at 5:30 in the morning, by 6:15 a.m., the WOD is over. All right. This has to be maintained because it leaves 15 minutes for everyone to clean up and put away their own equipment. All right. So coaches and others cannot touch your stuff. If you, you know, picked up dumbbells and you went around and helped clean that, you know, wipe down everybody else's, your dumbbells will stay there until you yourself pick them back up. Again, we're just trying to limit contact as much as possible, and do not leave this for the coaches to do. They're going to have some other stuff to do after the class is over. So then too, this 15-minute window allows you time to get your things together and exit prior to the start of next class or the gym's, you know, lockup / closing down for the day. You know, I'm sure people will ask, can I stretch in that 15-minute window? No, you can. I guess you can if you go outside, but you cannot do so on the gym floor or anything like that. If the WOD ends early enough before that 45-minute window, then yeah, we can take some time to stretch and everything else. But at 45, the process is clean and get out the door. All right. So yeah, participants aren't permitted to enter the facility prior to the class starting, especially, you know, where we've got those spots where there's a class and then another class, you can't go in during that time. And participants are not permitted to stay after the class is dismissed for any reason. Okay, so again, clean up and get out. All right. So we must maintain these policies as a measure of control for safety. All right, it's just the way it is for now. Individuals who do remain longer than it is permitted will be asked to leave immediately. All right, so be cool. Don't give the coach a hard time. You know, I don't care what it is. Just don't, and don't whine about it. You know the rules here. All right. Conversations and stretching, et cetera, they can be done outside in the back or in the front or near your vehicles, or you know, anywhere but within the gym. Okay. And I know that community aspect, especially after workout, being able to kind of commiserate over how hard it was, or just continue to catch up on what's been going on in people's lives. That is absolutely vital, you know, but it can't basically happen within the gym during this time at this point. So you can still do all that outside. Okay. Repeat violators will have their access revoked and or pay fees. If I've got to find a way where it kind of hurts you, if it hurts your wallet or whatever the case is, then we'll do that. All right. And I will be receiving reports from the coaches about all this. So, you know, basically the cat is in the house, so the mouse can't play. All right. Coaches will need to wipe down entry door handles, water fountain nozzles, bathroom door handles, the computer area, and other things at the end of each class. So that's, again, a way for me to say, it's not for them to clean up after everybody else. You picked up the dumbbells, you bring the dumbbells back. It's that simple, and try to put it back nicely. Come on. You know, there are specific plate stacks and where barbells go and all that stuff. Please help us basically make this as effortless as possible. Okay. If you're going to be later than 15 minutes from the start of class, you will not be permitted access, absolutely no exceptions. So in that same 5:30 a.m. example, if you're going to be there at 5:46 a.m., you're not allowed in. All right. Things have to go a very specific manner. And again, for safety's sake, because if you rush in and then just jump into the WOD because the WOD might be getting ready to go by that point, there's a risk to you, like beyond injury, you haven't warmed up and everything else. Maybe you don't know what's going on. And the coaches have a lot more on their plate than they did before right now. So, and we have to maintain that schedule so everybody gets through the workout. So after that 15-minute spot, I don't care if it's 1 second, you can't come in. All right. And please don't give the coaches issues on that. That's going to further set everything back. Classes are limited to 7 participants and 1 coach. So this leaves only 8 people total that can be in the facility at one time. All right. It's just the way it is. That's going to help us maintain that 6-foot distance and kind of all the other stuff. And especially with our spots on the rig and, you know, whether you're doing strength work or pull-ups and things like that, this is the best scenario basically. But if you do reserve a class and do not cancel through the app or the website, prior to the 30-minute window of class starting, you will be charged a $10 no-show fee. Okay, this same fee actually applies if you're later than 15 minutes. Even if you like show up, knock on the door, and you're still not allowed access, that fee is going to hit. Okay, and you have to cancel your own spot. All right, so you cannot text me or another coach or whatever, a participant. You can't email us and say, hey, I need to cancel, but I can't get in the app. If you have issues getting into the app, log out and log back in. That's the same for the website. There tends to be caching issues with data. So log out, log back in, and you have 30 minutes prior to the start of class. So ideally by then you should know what's up. And the same thing applies even if since there's a limitation on classes, there will be the waitlist option available. If you get on the waitlist and your spot becomes available, but you don't notice it, you don't check it, you don't get, see the notification, which there is one, you're still going to be liable for the fee if you don't show up. Basically what I'm trying to say here, and I'm sorry, it sucks, but I have to enforce it, is there's absolutely no exceptions or allowances for this policy, absolutely regardless of the circumstance. If you get in a car accident, that sucks and I hate it. But it's unfortunately that's life. We are limiting how many people can come in, which means that your spot is even more valuable than it was before. So it's absolutely your responsibility to manage your schedule. We're all adults. It's just the way things are. Okay. And I do hate doing that. That's something I've fought for a long time, but right now it's just necessary. So again, the classes limitation, I just want to make that very clear. But if you do show up to the facility without having reserved a spot, you will also be charged a $10 no registration fee. All right. In addition to that, if the maximum of 7 participants has already been met, you will not be permitted access regardless of the nature of the WOD. All right. So I don't care if it's outside and, but there's plenty of room outside. I get that, but we have to maintain the same fair principle across the board. These can't change just because some circumstances change. All right. So what I'm saying again is you have to reserve your spot. You cannot just show up. All right. If you do, you get charged, and you absolutely run the risk of not actually being permitted. So you might have woken up at 5 in the morning to get there by 5:30. Oh gosh, I forgot to register. Okay, you're $10, but also we have 7 already. You can't come in. It's just the way it is. So you absolutely have to. All right. So again, these restrictions are in place and must be honored to ensure we can effectively run the classes, and taking time away from the coach to input your name into the roster isn't fair to anyone else because you forgot or, thought I did it. Again, manage your schedule. And this is for, like I've mentioned, legal and contact reasons, being able to actually report contact with the strain, et cetera. We are absolutely required to maintain this roster of everybody who enters the facility. So again, help us do this by reserving your classes. So literally we just have to check you in and it's all done. All right. And again, this is the fairness principle, that it's fair to everybody if everybody follows along with the rules. All right. And again, life happens. I've always bent over backwards to understand that, and to a fault, I will admit. But this isn't the time for that kind of exception. Unfortunately, we kind of have to be more rigorous and strict about it. So a couple no-nos, all right? And some of you are going to be pretty bummed about this, I know. But absolutely no fans can be used of any kind. I don't care if they're personal, you hold it in your own hand, or if it's, one of the kind of industrial size box fans and all that kind of stuff. They can't be used. There is a risk of how this virus can be carried and everything else, that if it's on your body in some way, shape, or form and the fan is blowing, it's giving it the airborne quality to then go to the next person even 6 foot away. So no fans, period. They're not going to be touched. They can't be used in any way, shape, or form. They're pulled away from the facility. So and don't bring one in. Don't try to be smart. It's not going to happen. We'll literally throw it right out. Okay. No children or pets are permitted. All right. The kiddie room is closed during class times. This helps us maintain those limits of how many bodies are in the facility. In some cases, the children, kind of the teenagers who are members, they're okay. They register for a spot. They work out. But, just bring your kids in because you don't have another option. I can't I can't permit that at this time. And that's true with pets too, only because especially the disruption possibility there, both to the timeline of how class operates, but if the pet isn't, you know, even if it's leashed, it's going to bark, it's going to get in the way of things like, you know, what, or meow, I guess, if you bring a cat. Nobody's done that, I don't think. Thank goodness. But, you know, and I love my dog to death and I wish she could be there every day, but we just can't. Plus, you know, like if, for instance, if a dog licks somebody and they are infected and they go lick somebody else, boom, we just created a trend there that's not so good. So again, no pets, no kids. All right. That is true for everybody, coaches, et cetera, right? You know, no athletic chalk of any kind is permitted, liquid or powder. There are some people who are going to argue, well, liquid also has alcohol in it and that helps kill it and all this kind of stuff. Like, no, I'm not permitting it because not all liquid chalks actually have that alcohol basis in it. You might think it does, but you know, they don't have a standard where they have to even report that. So no athletic chalk whatsoever. I don't want to see it. Obviously, our writing chalk will still be used for you smart butts out there. I almost said, you know, a $sign. We're going to use our chalks to write up the WOD and stuff like that. Those are written chalk. You cannot crush them and put it on your hand because you're sweaty and all that jazz. Like chalk is not going on your body, not going on the bars, and not going on the equipment or the floor. I don't want to see it crushed or anything. A violator of that, seriously, you're going to get fined real bad on it, okay? Don't do it. No athletic tape of any kind is permitted. All right. So I'm talking about obviously typically the white athletic tape, but, you know, or black or whatever it is that you would wrap around a bar or wrap around maybe even your hands or something like that. Unless, and the exception here is that it's maybe like a therapeutic tape, like KT or rock tape, or there are like those, the tapes that you just, I forget the name of them right now, but they go right onto your hand for pull-ups and stuff like that, as long as it stays on your body through the entirety of the class. All right. So from the time you put it on and when you leave, it's still on your person. That's the, you know, and especially if it's like a therapeutic tape, it's on your back and it stays on your back. That I will be fine with, okay? But it cannot leave your person in any way, shape, or form. It can't be thrown on the floor. It can't come off your thumbs because it just happened to come off at the time. Like that can't happen, all right? Because again, we're trying to limit contact possibilities. So I hope that makes sense. No personal items may be left at the facility, and that includes, you know, and obviously isn't limited to water bottles, shaker cups, headbands, wraps, any item we find. I don't care what it is. If it's your phone, it's going to be thrown away. All right. So just, again, we're adults. We can manage our schedule and can manage our things. Make sure your stuff is with you before you go. It's going to get thrown away if not. Again, limiting contact. So this is a key one too, and I really want to make sure this is clear. No other WODs or movements may be performed during the class other than what the coach recommends or assigns pertinent to each participant for modification and scaling reasons, okay? So what I'm saying with that is my programming is all that's going to be done in class, all right? Unless it needs to be modified, as always, this is always the case, pertinent to the participants, you know, obviously with what we need to scale and modify for their specific reasons. All right, you cannot use the class as an open gym in any way, shape, or form. If I program back squats and you know, and in a WOD kind of thing, and you come in and go row for 30 minutes or, you know, whatever the case is, no. All right, unless for some reason you've talked to the coach and it has to be done because you can't do X, Y, Z, or whatever the case is, okay? You have to get the clearance from the coach if it's something different for your personal sake. Again, this helps us to control the elements, helps make sure that the timeline goes the way it is. As always, we're modifying and scaling for you, so I don't want you to think like, well, wait a minute, I can't do muscle ups, so I'm not allowed, you know, I have to do like that. You totally are missing the point if that's what your thought process is. We are scaling and modifying as usual. It's just you cannot do other things than what is programmed on the workout. That's true for coaches too. They can't come in and do a WOD in the middle of class or anything like that. And this is absolute, period. This might be something that I don't change ever. Again, from this point, it's been kind of this gray area-ish thing. There's been issues in the past and you know, I don't want to hear it anymore. So you're doing my programming or you're not. That's just the way it is, okay? During the class times. Okay, so some requirements and recommendations. If you are sick, all right, so that means you're showing symptoms of illness in any way, shape, or form, sniffling, nose, and coughing and sneezing. I guess that could be allergies or whatever. But come on, be smart. And if you especially possess a body temperature that is, elevated, and not everybody has, the typical 98.6 or 98.1 degree temperature range. Some people are actually higher elevated naturally, and some people are lower naturally too. So if it's elevated for you, basically, you're not permitted within the facility. This holds true for everybody, all right? One, it's a risk to yourself. If you're sick and fighting something and then boom, you get slapped with COVID-19, especially if you're fighting something upper respiratory, a very healthy person can still be extremely compromised in that situation, okay? But also too, if you've got it, you're basically you're instituting a risk to others, and you've got a compromised immune system at the same time. It's a bad cycle. So be smart. Don't show up if you're sick. All right. Everyone is to refrain from physical contact with others unless express permission is granted. Okay. So save your fist bumps and high fives and all that stuff for another time. Obviously, if it's like your significant other or whatever, that I assume it's okay. Would hope. But yeah, with others, don't just absentmindedly like, "Hey, good job, man," and like that sucks. So maintain 6 foot distance from others. You have heard this from everyone else. I shouldn't have to tell you, but whatever, it's there. We are not going to mark out 6 foot stations or anything like that. That's silly. Again, for the third time, we're all adults. We know basically how far we should keep from people. So just use proper judgment. On the rig, it gets a little funky based on if you're, perpendicular to one another and stuff like that. But, we'll do everything we can to maintain space. And also too, just don't freak out if anybody is too close. Like oh my God, you're going to infect me if you're too close. Like I've witnessed this when I've been out shopping and all that kind of stuff. And that grates my soul. Just be polite and ask somebody to move further away or figure it out with the coach. Like you don't have to go nuts here. All right. Facial covering is not required, but it is recommended. And I'm making that clear by the CDC. I've worn devices over my, my mouth and stuff like that, like air inhibiting devices to basically help improve cardiorespiratory endurance and stuff. And it's difficult, so again, facial covering isn't required. It's just recommended. So when cleaning, please don't spray the equipment directly, but rather spray the towel and then apply. So this is a kind of, I guess, twofold thing. When you spray the equipment directly, it actually has the risk of kind of degrading the equipment quality. Because it might, like in a barbell, for instance, when I see people just spray the barbell, the liquid actually gets under spots it doesn't need to, where the bearing is, and that erodes at the quality of basically the oil that's there, the grease and things like that. And it's you ruin the equipment faster, and that's true, especially like in rowers. There's, if it gets in the nooks and crannies of bolts, like that's not good for the equipment. So yeah, for the health of the equipment, but also too, spraying helps push any sort of microbial or viral strain, et cetera. Like it doesn't necessarily, like a spray might not kill it, but the pressure pushes it away. All right. So you might spray it into a place where it doesn't need to be. So don't spray the equipment directly. Do not spray your towel or whatever, we might just have wipes, whatever the case is, like just spray that and then apply it, because also too, that friction is part of the process of killing things. All right. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. All right, so here's the legal stuff, and I wanted to go over it because basically, I just want to make sure it's abundantly clear. Every one of you who will be attending classes at this point must complete the new policy agreement. All right, it has to be signed before you can attend class. All right, so coaches and myself, we're going to be keeping a list of those who have and have not signed. If you're on that list that hasn't, you have to sign it. All right, you have to read it and you have to sign it. So I'm telling you now, you have a week to get this signed. I'm going to be popping it over to everybody's memberships here very soon. So, but let me read it for you so it's abundantly clear. All right. So effective with the reopening of our facilities in May 2020, these policies will be executed immediately and as part of a continued commitment to serve the members of our community while also doing our best to ensure everyone's safety and good health. Experience Fitness LLC, doing business as CrossFit Strongsville, and its ownership will continue to update these policies and guidelines as necessary and reserves the right to change and enforce these terms wholly at its discretion, providing notice to its base of clients and members through written communication. As a member or client of Experience Fitness LLC, you must read and sign this document prior to resuming the attendance in classes and or receiving further services from us, essentially, its executive members and staff. The following list, and by the way, a lot of this we've already gone over in this presentation. I just want to make sure it's abundantly clear. The following list comprises items that are to be excluded from the facility entirely. No fans, personal or otherwise, may be used within the facility. No athletic chalk, liquid or powder of any kind may be used within the facility. No athletic tape of any kind may be used within the facility, the exception here being therapeutic tape that remains on the body, such as KT tape or rock tape, is permitted but may not be removed while on the premises. The kids' room is closed and off limits. Additionally, no children or pets may be brought into the facility during class times. No personal items may be left at the facility. They will be thrown away at the end of class if not reclaimed. No other WODs or movements may be performed during the class other than what the coach recommends or assigns pertinent to each participant for modification and scaling reasons. Again, in other words, the class is not to be treated as an open gym in any manner. The following list comprises items that are changes to current policies and irrevocably replaces them. Proud of myself for saying that. Or irrevocably, you could say. Classes are limited to 7 participants and 1 coach, comprising 8 individuals total that are permitted within the facility. There is a $10 no-show fee for individuals who reserve a class but do not cancel and do not show up to attend. The cancellation window closes 30 minutes prior to the beginning of class. This fee applies regardless of circumstance or event, and it also applies if the individual is later than 15 minutes from the start time of the class. An individual must cancel their registration themselves. Coaches and staff are not responsible. There is a $10 non-registration fee for individuals who come to the facility but do not reserve their spot. This reservation window closes 30 minutes prior to the beginning of class. The individual will also be turned away if the maximum limit of 7 participants has been reached. If a class shows as unavailable to an individual, yet they are able to assign themselves to the wait list, they are still subject to the same fees if any of the scenarios outlined above are witnessed. Individuals may not enter the facility prior to the start of class, nor linger around after the class is dismissed for any reason, including but not limited to stretching, extra activity, etc. Individuals will be asked to step outside if they remain too long and impede on the operation of the facility. Excessive violations will result in fees and or termination of services. Open gyms are off limits and have been removed from the schedule. Only staff members, their significant others, and individuals approved at the discretion of the ownership, that's me, may utilize the gym during off hours, or in other words, times during which the classes are not scheduled, okay? And I've mentioned some of those exceptions already. The following list comprises guidelines and recommendations that are in effect. All individuals will be responsible for obtaining and returning all equipment they are to use for a class. They must also fully wipe down with cleaning materials provided all equipment they touch, okay? You don't have to wipe the floors, but you do have to wipe the equipment, and that includes the rig and stuff like that. And again, you are responsible for grabbing your own things, so you go get it and you bring it back. You know, again, no coach can bring it to you, all that kind of stuff. So in the middle of why do you go, oh, can you get me 10s? We're not going to do it, all right? To that end, do not spray items directly, but rather spray the towel prior to wiping the item. All individuals are to refrain from physical contact with other persons in the facility as much as possible unless express permission is granted. All individuals are to maintain a 6-foot distance from all other persons within and outside of the facility to the best of their ability. Facial covering is not required, but recommended. If an individual is demonstrating symptoms of illness and or possesses an elevated bodily temperature, they are not to enter the facility, attend classes, or otherwise engage in activity on the premises. By signing this document below, you acknowledge and agree to the following statements. So I'm not going to say the customer name thing. That's part of the script I had to write with making the digital document. So I have read and agreed to the policies outlined within this document. Straightforward. I agree to have my credit card and or bank account and or any other acceptable form of payment on file debited the $10 fee associated with the no-show fee as outlined above in the event that I am found violating the policy. So basically, if you agree that you will be charged if you violate that policy for no-show. I understand this also applies if I'm later than 15 minutes after the start of class. Furthermore, I agree to have my credit card or bank account or other acceptable form of payment on file debited the $10 fee associated with the non-registration fee as outlined above in the event I am found violating the policy. Again, you're agreeing to be charged the $10 non-registration fee if you don't reserve the class and yet show up. My signature below affirms these statements, and this document can be used as evidence if there is a matter or dispute. Okay, so you can't say you never said okay to this. I understand that I am assuming the risk entirely of attending classes and services at the facility operated by Experience Fitness LLC, doing business as CrossFit Strongsville. Okay, so this is a big one, all right? I hereby indemnify, hold harmless, and release, waive, discharge, and covenant not to sue Experience Fitness LLC, doing business as CrossFit Strongsville, its members and staff, and any of its agents, their families, next of kin, and heirs for any loss or damage, injury, illness, or death related to contact with or contraction of COVID-19, and including, but not limited to, physical harm, health risks, infections, transmission of biological matter, contact with bodily fluids, and threats both known and unknown. Okay, so that's saying you are agreeing that you are assuming the risk by coming into the facility. All right, that anything could happen, essentially. All right, contracting COVID-19 specifically, you basically hold this harmless. You will not sue us. You waive all liability for us. And you cannot come after anybody related to us, our staff, our next of kin, for anything that occurs. That includes health bills, death, unfortunately, which I hope that never happens, injury, illness, loss of work, whatever. We are not liable for this in any way, shape, or form. I hereby assume full responsibility for and risk of illness, bodily injury, death, or property damage with my signature below. I will do everything in my power to assist Experience Fitness LLC, doing business as CrossFit Strongsville, and creating an environment that is as safe as possible by fully cooperating with these policies outlined above and those already in place. By signing below, I am stating that I have read and agreed to the policies outlined, as well as the statements provided above, and understand that I am immediately subject to these policies as part of my continued patronage of Experience Fitness LLC, doing business as CrossFit Strongsville. So again, basically the last part is just saying you assume all the risks, and that you don't hold us accountable for it, and that you agree to be a part of part of helping us do this by following the policies, and that you are subject to them. So, if any violation is found, correctional matters will be taken into hand. So I still believe that fit people are harder to kill, and that's obviously why we're reopening. As I mentioned before, the pandemic has proved it. So I really hope that you can feel comfortable, or more comfortable at least, that we're going to be doing everything in our power to help serve you and to help fight this thing, and the many other monsters that we have to face in our personal and our personal lives and beyond. So I like that piece of the quote from what I started with, perspective. Human spirit is an amazing thing. All right. And it absolutely is. It's what changes the world. So I hope to tap into your human spirit and strengthen mine, and then use my strength and human spirit to strengthen yours, and back and forth. The more we give here, the better. The more we can come together, obviously, the better. So this is kind of the last points. Sign the updated policy agreement. You have to before you attend, period. Contribute and don't complain. All right. That's actually something I wish I consider often, getting tattooed on my body. I ask myself before, getting into any form of conflict, am I contributing to the solution, or am I just complaining? And I think if you do that more often than not, you might find that your knee-jerk reaction, both at the time of the event that has in some way, shape, or form offended or pissed you off, if you ask yourself, am I contributing to the problem, or contributing to the solution, or am I complaining and therefore contributing to the problem? So I would recommend take some time, think about it, and then go ahead and fire off your email or say what you're going to say or whatever the case is. But oftentimes the cooler head will prevail and allow you to actually consider solutions. So that's not to say I don't want to hear your complaints. You can go ahead and complain. But I would just recommend you ask yourself, am I contributing? Okay. Because I understand a lot of what I've outlined here is not going to be cool with everybody. But my job, as I've come to learn, is not to actually please everybody. If I do, then I please nobody. All right. But my job is to continue to care for you, to encourage you, to, ideally strengthen you and embolden you and give you, the tools you need to help become better. All right. And I have to do that, especially while maintaining your safety. And that's the whole point here. So, but also just be awesome. Just be awesome. It's not hard really when you think about it. Just be awesome. And I thank you. And I absolutely can't wait to see you all again. Right. This is our door. Well, one of them. Let me stop the share here. So, but again, I'm excited to have you back. This will be a process we're all going to be going through, but it's going to work out. It's going to be fine. And, again, I hope you see that we're going to be doing what we can to make sure everybody's as safe as possible. So if you have questions or anything, never hesitate, shoot me an email. And if you have complaints, hesitate and consider if you're contributing to the solution first, then go ahead and send it my way. And I'll see you soon. So thanks guys, and take care, be strong, be safe, be healthy. Bye.